So we're all good.
Here we are, live.
Yes.
This is the new streamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcasts, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. Another good topic today.
Yeah, I like this topic a lot. So the title today is, are they receptive to attention/dating/relationship? So you could say, gosh, if each person was really honest and open and talked what they were about and then had permission to change their mind along the way, we'd have nothing to talk about. But that never happens.
Indeed. I mean, one way of reframing this is also like when to know if you're ready and also when to know if they're ready, which is what we can talk about. But the truth is, oftentimes people won't know that until they're already in the place of, oh, are we in that now? So definitely something we can talk about today.
For sure. So certainly one of the things I am a big fan of for women is to be receptive. Be receptive to even any kind of male attention of, would you get that off the shelf for me? Or, gosh, I needed help with something and I love your opinion or your thoughts about it. In any, very platonic relationship, to just be more open and not quite so I can do everything all by myself all the time. And
That
wear
could
ourselves out. Yeah.
I say that can be a whole show on its own, just that one piece.
I'll write that down. I have my list going.
Of course. Well, the thing is, for me on this side, being on this side of the fence, so to speak, to be asked by someone, especially if it's a woman I'm interested in, to like do something, it's like, my chest puffs up and I feel like, oh, she likes me. She wants me to do stuff. So there's definitely a benefit on our side of the fence too. So it can work really beautifully for both sides, where she, in honesty, not just to manipulate, but actually out of interest and maybe attraction, but also out of just desire to have support. Because that's the other part that we love as men, most of the time, is a woman who is not afraid to ask for help. Not that she's going to be totally helpless. And again, we'll go down the road more further. But also she's not so independent, she won't even let us help. Because we talked about this in another episode about the door opening thing. Women get upset when I open a door for them. It's like, I'm not doing it because I think you're weak. I'm doing it because I appreciate you and respect you. Yeah. And it's that sort of level of interaction, especially early in dating, where for men and women to have that give and take's the wrong word, but the idea of having that duality of it working together, where there's the request and then the response to that request, can really be powerful and can be really an indication of attraction. Very
much. And the way I explain it to women is, most women like helping somehow. They like cooking for people, they like caring for people, they like cleaning up for people, they like buying presents for people, they like doing things emotionally, mentally, physically for people. We like nurturing. We like creating a nice home for people to come into. And it makes you feel good. So the same but different, the same and different for men is providing information, physical assistance,
resource,
advice,
what resource.
Yes, makes them feel good too. And we can say to the most extreme platonic way, in business and friendship, it's the reciprocity. We like doing for people and it makes us feel good. Then why are you depriving men of the opportunity to do for us mentally, emotionally, and physically? Do for us in all sorts of ways. So starting out just thinking receptivity to a man being of service to you in all sorts of ways is a really good way to start, to say, am I ready to even have a conversation with a man to let him help me? Am I ready to have a conversation with somebody who I would respect their advice, and just practice that? Because we're talking about how are you ready? And part of finding, are you ready? Can you at least do that? Because some can't. And that's really something to practice. Because if you can't do that, I don't know why you're even thinking about dating.
Absolutely. And that's one reason why I think it's important to have that word receptive in there, because in case of quite a few of my clients, and certainly some of my past relationships, the women who I met didn't have any sense of receptivity to me doing anything for them or to me to lead even. And we talk about in many episodes about the masculine feminine polarity, and the masculine lead, the feminine, enjoys following, not as a blind follower, but because she can be more relaxed to enjoy the journey because she's not having to direct everything. Mm-hmm. And in this conversation, can both partners be receptive to that from the other? Meaning that can men be receptive to the invitation to lead? And can women be receptive to the invitation just to enjoy the process and the journey? And so having that dance of each person playing together, first of all, is a great basis for the relationship. There's also a great deal of basis for the respect of each one's difference.
Mm-hmm. So we've now touched on some really core differences in men and women.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say it out loud. There's lots of women that have very high masculinity in themselves, period, or certainly in their jobs. And so they like to provide advice and they like to provide service in a different way. But then when you now left work and you're having a more personal relationship with a man, it would behoove you to figure out how to have a light switch that changes more back to being a little more receptive and not having to be in charge all the time. It's wearing women out when they think they have to be in charge all the time.
The thing is that the challenge, yes, absolutely, for women is they do get in the groove of being like men in business. Mm-hmm. And so having some sort of, I won't say a ritual necessarily, but some sort of practice, something, even if it's like a bubble bath, something that for a woman reconnects her back to her femininity, to her softness, to her juiciness, that isn't going to sort of, that takes it out of the doing mechanics, which is what men are trained to do, sort of things. Because so many women have had to do the same thing because of business, and we talked about that in the show before, about the business world being created by men for men that women have had to sort of catch up with and pretend to be the same as to succeed in the business world. But in dating, thankfully, smart women know it's good to find a man who will stay there once they can let go of it.
Yeah. So I've talked about rituals with women and about how you could have a conversation with yourself on the way home from the office, or if you don't have time right away for a bath, go change clothes.
Oh, yeah.
Put on something soft or comfy or just different than your work, whatever even your work attire is casual. Change clothes. Because while you're changing clothes, you're going to say, I'm now in my at-home clothes. And it's worked. It's really helped women make a very conscious shift of feeling a little more receptive for help and support and nurturing. And they now take off that very masculine, I'm at work hat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that is the challenge, because I guess for most of your clients and my clients, so many women have been in the producing and getting things done and making things happen mode, which is really the masculine energetic. And again, as you said, I'll just underscore that, is that men and women are generally aligned to the masculine and feminine in energetics, but don't live there the whole time. And so getting things done is a very mechanical and this masculine thing. And it doesn't matter what physical body you inhabit or what gender you play, there is a need sometimes to get out of your natural alignment to do the things you get to do. And so if you're a woman who wants to be around a masculine man whose natural resource state is feminine, but is always being in the masculine to get things done, it's going to be much easier to meet a man in their masculine when you choose to be in the feminine, because of that polarity piece, which we have discussed in the show before. So go back and watch that episode if you haven't, or listen to that episode if you haven't done so already.
It was a great episode.
It was.
Had lots of people comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know first if you're receptive? So this is a really good exercise. Can you, as a woman, ask for help? Can you, as a man, provide help in whatever way? Advice, listening, doing, because that's really the only way to test if you're going to be receptive, to be in a close, intimate, and eventually physically intimate relationship, is if you've now opened yourself to being receptive to the other person's, I love your polarity word, because we're never the same. Right. Whether it's masculine, feminine, men or women, introvert, extrovert, there's always, we bring our own pieces. And how can we be receptive to the other? Because that's really what we're asking at this stage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's one little nuance I want to add to that. You said about for women being willing to ask for what you need, and for men to be willing to step up and provide that. Yeah. One little nuance for men as a homework practice is how clearly can you listen and be more intuitive, so that you're not having to wait for her to demand of you, please do this thing for me. You know, if a man is tuned in enough, again, if he's receptive and if he's interested, he'll probably notice when she's asking for something without actually putting the words out, because women have this gift of having a vast spectrum of communication that is largely nonverbal about things they need to do or change or want to have happen. And so for men, I'm not saying we can do it easily because I'm not trained that way, but at least if we be open, so when she starts to ask, we already get what she's asking for and we can be that responsive. That's a really good clue that we are receptive and that both partners are on the same page.
And one of the things I've taught men that are just learning that is ask.
Yes.
Would you like me to do that? I mean, clarify what she said, clarify what you think she meant. Boy, I'd really be happy to do that or get that or have that. Because guessing wrong is full of so many problems for us women, because then we just take it completely personal and we're off on that. So yes, confirming that you're guessing well and that you've been paying attention and you really do think, you know, gosh, I'd be happy to do, is that what you want? That? And then hopefully she'll refine it. And it's really, I love teaching women to just say what you want and not make him guess. And if he guesses and he guesses wrong, then no, I'd be this instead. And then at least say yes.
Right.
Because assuming, you know, the whole thing about it makes an ass out of you and me.
Mm-hmm.
And once we know each other better, certainly that can happen more. And right, certainly men that are really highly evolved are certainly better at it, present company included, that most men don't have that. So if you don't have that, then do it this way and it could be really helpful. Because the more we get, each side get what we really need, the more receptive we're going to feel. Oh, they get me. Oh, they want to please me. Oh, they think I'm good at this. I mean, that just opens both, and that's when the guy's chest puffs up. That's when our eyes sparkle. And you can tell when people are doing the right things for each other, for sure.
And it's a good practice because a large part of this work is building rapport. And especially if you're considering dating, even if it's not this person, but if you're receptive to date somebody and meet somebody, practicing with somebody who you're not going to be dating is okay because it's refining your own skill set. And it becomes better. And for us men, especially, that offering to help, even when she doesn't necessarily ask for it, because again, one of the gifts we have when we start to tune in is we get to get so much information from women because they put in lots of signals all the time.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes it's that practice we have, even with our friends, when you notice something else, like, can I help you with that? Or is something unique so I can feel there's something off, or whatever it is that you can respond to. Because the other thing is also is if you get it wrong, with a friend, it's not such a bad deal if it's on a first date. So practicing with friends is a good thing to do because then you've got some feedback and you know that you're on track or off track. So when you do go on a first date and you meet somebody who's interesting to you, you may not be so fingers and thumbs or toes, you know, that sort of clumsy about it, you know.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're going to put your foot in your mouth.
Indeed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is really, I think, much harder on men. I mean, we women are the kind that we review all our conversations and figure out how we could have said it differently or we'll do it differently next time. I think it affects men even deeper than that because you want to look good in front of us. You want us to think you're cool and smart and interesting and not a buffoon, which is sometimes how you can feel if you're not very good at this.
Yeah.
So the other thing I kept thinking so much as we had this subject this week is we can certainly give you guidelines. And I'm going to tell you, everybody, and certainly almost every woman is really different.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that they tease that, you know, the manual for a woman is just like as tall as this room.
Yeah.
Because one woman likes this today and she might like something different tomorrow. And the next woman wouldn't want either of those things. So that's why it's really, I feel so sorry for men in this way. You just never know, especially if we're not going to tell you. But so we can give you some generalized guidelines. But generally, a woman is receptive to possibly spending more time with you if she touches you.
This is such a key thing. Yeah.
But it's not a given, but it's more than 50%.
And yes, and to underscore that point is, yes, the joy and the pain of recognizing that every woman we meet is different. So what we think what happened to the previous, especially when it was your previous girlfriend, men happen with this girlfriend for the guys. It's like, imagine you're starting with a clean slate. Yes, bring your experience of what skills you learn along the way, but don't presume you know everything about her when you first meet them. Being receptive is the first step, but being inquisitive and asking questions along the way versus making assumptions is huge. So the differences in women is such a joy and such a challenge.
Equally. Since I am one of them, I am happy to say yes, equally joy and challenge. So if we touch you, we generally would like you to at least hang around and talk to us some more. That is such a indicator that we feel safe with you, that we want to see what your energy feels like. We maybe would be happy if we touched your hand, you touch our hand back. I mean, it's really at least over 50%. I'm going to give you the over 50. There's nothing 100% about any of this at all.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing often is if we're smiling, because we can do the smile that doesn't reach our eyes, we're not having a good time. Isn't that key for a guy? If you know that, isn't that helpful? If we're
smiling eyes is the piece that so many people miss, because especially with plastic surgery in LA.
That's true.
And the Botox, so the smile doesn't reach above the chin, above the cheeks. It's like,
that's funny.
The challenge is that women and men do this too, is be aware when the smile is just from the nose down, is not a real smile. It's a mechanical thing. Because really the communication of smiles through the eyes. And so that piece alone, I mean, if you take that piece in your dating experience, it will change everything in your experience. First of all, just do that piece alone. Just be aware of where the smile comes from. And beyond that, yes, the touch kinesthetically, that's the other part too, because some men are not tuned into that either. So one of the challenges is that what we're talking about here is the generalization. So yes, for a woman touching a man's arm, hopefully he's going, oh, she touched my arm, versus I don't notice anything, So there's a part of him that will go, hang on a second, this is important. She touched me. That means I'm doing the right thing. So stay around thing. So yes, for women, touching a man's arm as a general rule is a smart move. If you're interested in the man, you want him to stay around and you want to find out more about him and you want to connect, because part of this physical touch is the connection.
And if the smile reaches the eyes, keep talking. If it doesn't, move on. Find the next person that the smile reaches. You're just barking up the wrong tree. And it might not have anything to do with you. She might have had a bad day. You might look like somebody she doesn't like. It could have something to do with you. It could have nothing to do with you. Move on. You have to get a sparkly eye smile or you're shooting blanks. It's just not going to work. I don't care how cool you are.
Well, there is an unless in there I want to put in there just as an option too, because that's very true. Unless you really know this is somebody you want to get to know and you want to get past whatever those walls are that you're already facing up front. It's not easy and it's not recommended necessarily. But if it's somebody who you definitely is like, I know, like you've seen her somewhere else where she's been very happy, very light, and maybe there's a different state. She's not always like this. So part of you goes, this is not who she is. I know that. So for us men, sometimes we go, I want to take on the challenge. It's like challenge accepted. But at the same time, don't make that always the rule. That's the exception to the rule. But generally, yes, as you said, to really go where the light shines, and when putting it, is a smart move.
It was a good caveat. That's a really good caveat. Yeah. Don't just assume she's always like this, but don't assume she's not.
Right.
Could be just a big grouchy person. I mean, there are those people in the world. I don't spend much time with them, but I've noticed.
Yes, indeed.
So the other thing is, if you make us laugh in a good way. So now I'm going to give you another caveat in a good way.
No, not the other way.
I don't know if I've even said it in any of these podcasts that I was newly divorced and my girlfriend was showing me how to do bars because I met him, John, when I was 16. I got divorced when I was 32. I'd never gone single to a bar. It was fun. It was Bobby McGee's, great dancing, lots of people my age. And we're standing there one day and I used to drink something that had a little twist of lemon thing in it. And this guy comes by and he stares me in the face and he looks at my glass and he looks at me and he goes, you look like you have a toenail in your glass. I didn't think it was funny. I'm sure other people might have. I'm sure he tried it
Yeah.
on, but I went, So move on.
Not a great first line for
That
starters.
didn't work.
Yeah.
So there's different kinds of humor, different kinds of laughing, but oh my gosh, a guy that can make you laugh, it is so helpful. It's so helpful. So, if you have a funny story you could tell, or a joke that's like not much over the edge.
Like a dad joke.
Yeah, a dad joke. Dad jokes are winning jokes. You can Google them, and there's so many. And most of the time, most women, if they're even a little receptive, will laugh.
Absolutely.
And even if it doesn't work out, look at the shot of adrenaline you get as a guy. I made her laugh. She thought I was funny. I mean, that's really good for a guy's ego to make her laugh, because you take 100% responsibility that we laugh.
It's one of those things that we like to take on as one of our own. Yes, absolutely. And we'll cover more, because I know we're going to do a commercial break. So, so as it's that time, make sure that you come back and join us, because we're going to go into deeper topics and also explain about what the relationship step is going to be as well.
Yes.
So we'll see you back in a second.
Thank you, Barry, for always being so on top of it. I look and it's 15, and then all of a sudden I'm like 21.
I do what I can.
I'm always having such a good time. I completely forget.
Oh, yeah.
I so appreciate you pay such good attention to that.
Me too.
You have such an important job. You have so many jobs with this. I'm so grateful for all of them. So we're talking about, are people receptive to having attention given to them, or dating you, or being in a relationship? So we've really spent the first 20 minutes talking a lot about getting yourself ready to see if you're receptive, and then what it's like when you're just out in the world and wanting attention from somebody, or wanting to give attention to somebody, and some of the hallmarks of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we're going to move into the dating conversation.
Yeah. How do you know if they're receptive to dating? My goodness gracious. I would say, in my personal and professional experience, most people really are not completely sure. Some people are more sure than others, but they're really not until they do it. So we get grace for that. Everything, you don't know if you're going to like it or be good at it till you try it the first time. And then you go, holy crap, didn't like that at all. Or, wow, I like that and I want to do it more. And there's in the middle, or how much more do I need to learn? So that's why you start out with no emotional investment for the first meeting. All you're going to do is learn about yourself and learn about another person, and see, do both of you want to do it a second time? Without, oh my God, I got ghosted, and oh, they rejected me, and it was the first time. No emotion, zero emotion. Even if you're receptive, they might not be. Even if they're receptive, you might not be. So don't get yourself all in a bunch when you're going to have a first meeting about making a decision about you're receptive or not as a whole person. Just maybe not with that person right now, this minute.
So much to say on this. I'm going to give where I start.
I watched it go. Wow.
Yeah, my mind was like, how do I do this? First of all, well, just speaking from personal experience, the last several months, going on some first dates from dating apps, and also, well, actually, mostly from matchmaking connections, and really making sure I set my sights lower than I expect to do. Even though I'm working with matchmakers who are supposed to be the best of the best, and I'm being somewhat callous in this moment, just to be clear. I have a lot of dating matchmaking friends, so I'm not trying to insult them, but there are some matchmakers who are doing more of a numbers game than actually doing the real work. So just putting that to one side. Having gone on several first dates over the last, say, several months, I've definitely been more leaning much more towards the let's just check it out, see where it goes, versus I'm definitely interested in going somewhere. Because every one of them except one, I had no desire to go to the second date. Like, that was very clear from the get-go. It wasn't a good match. It wasn't a good meetup. It was like they put us together because we're in the same age bracket, and that was about it, which is unfortunate. One I met, and it's through a dating app, that unfortunately was lust-driven. So my interest in her was much more on the physical level. It wasn't any other level. And I'm being transparent, saying this is what I experienced. This is coming back about a year and a half ago. So for me, I've had an interesting variety of dates to go and explore and express. And so I'm using my personal experience in this moment. And that's the thing, is that I know more clearly more than ever where my balance point is, or my choice point is about going like, I'm receptive to go further on or I'm not. And it is for me very clear that it isn't necessarily when I first meet the person, but by the end of the first connection, first meeting, where it's an hour or a couple of hours, whatever it is, 10 minutes, it might shift. So I don't presume on the first time I see them when I walk in the door, sort of thing. Did happen a couple of times though. It's like I was going to turn around and walk away right then, but no, it's not me. I got to be polite. But the understanding that it's pretty clear during the conversation that there is no chemistry, no juice, no desire, no connection that feels like I want to pursue or be more connected in deeper ways. And for women, and I'm not sure if it's as easy as for us men, because I think that's a skill we have innately, is that we have a fairly clear like on-off switch in a sense. I don't think all men have that. Maybe it's just me. I'm not sure. But anyway, so this is the only guy in this conversation. I'm saying that as one of the points. But for women, I'm curious if that's of a similar vein, where women know pretty early, or if it takes time to get to know that it's a yes or a no.
We need to know how we emotionally feel sitting there with you. Do we feel safe? Are we interested? I think it's a disservice, and I love touting Allison Armstrong's words about, if we have a whole bunch of physical chemistry in the beginning as a woman, it's not always our best gauge. Our best gauge is, do we think you're interesting? Do we enjoy how we feel sitting there with you? Does it feel comfortable? Does it feel fun? Do I feel safe? Do I feel like I trust you? And that there's nothing physically off-putting about you, because we can't do that either.
Right.
So we do have the same on-off switch. The thing with women is often, though, we're more apt, good or bad, to try again. We will try on a bunch of dresses. You like finding a shirt and buying 10 of them. It's just part of the masculine, feminine DNA. Because I have friends, women friends, who they don't like to shop. They want a personal shopper, fill up the dressing room. I want to find stuff I want to leave. I don't want to go look through rack. That's the exception. It has been my experience. Most of us are okay trying it on. Now, there could be an absolutely no, like yours. And even if there's a we will often see, do I feel better the next time or worse? That's really, so because you wanted to know about the gauge, that's often what women will do. Just so you have an insight into our crazy brain.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that is the thing, is that we have different criteria, different motivations, and oftentimes different resonances, because I don't know how many men really are looking for emotional connection initially, because that's not where we resource for most men. Some of us do, but not many men do. I know
widowed men.
Yes, we can get in that whole.
We're the big exception to that.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll put it this way then, just to add to that piece of conversation, is that men who have had emotional, I won't say challenge, the wrong word, even emotional trauma, but it's having an emotional experience that is so beyond their usual reference, it's opened up to a bigger space. They've changed their paradigm. So men who've been through that journey, whatever journey is, where it is through grief of loss, or through some sort of challenge, or maybe a divorce where it was emotional toll was taken as well, they may indeed have that emotional component required from the woman they meet to feel emotionally safe with her. So it does work both ways. Yes, because you need to safety, that one like ding, ding, ding in my head, because for many women, they need to know they feel safe with the man. Maybe one of the highest criteria before they can even think about going any closer or any further with that man. So for us men, we also carry that to a degree. A lot of men are like, they feel they're immune, they don't feel anything, which is why they've been through that emotional roller coaster yet. So they definitely have this sense of immunity where they don't worry about the emotional piece at all. But for men who frankly have had some miles under them, so to speak, have grown enough to know that when they have the emotional piece, they also feel that place that they want to provide safety, but also they want to feel safe themselves.
Mm-hmm. It's equally important.
Yeah.
For both sides. And women don't know, men know that about themselves, but women don't know that about men.
No.
How important, because we want to trust them and they want us to, you want us to trust you is a high priority to both.
Yeah.
But to have a man feel like he can trust the woman,
yeah,
it is beyond belief. And women don't understand how important it is to cultivate it on our side and what a gift it is when you give it.
It is massive, just to be
Yes.
people hear
So
that.
if we were talking about receptive, that makes the ultimate of receptivity in a man when he's learned that who he really is as a person, you trust. You trust all of him. Wow, that's a huge gift.
I want to underscore that with just a point is that we so much of the time are busy attempting to accomplish, to demonstrate, to prove that we are good enough in whatever it's in career or the car we drive or the house we have or whatever it is we do. I mean, we tend to do that. We associate so much externally. And for a woman to accept us internally, like the emotional level, is for many men like out of left field, because a lot of men aren't even wide that way, as I said earlier. And so to have that place, women can give such a gift to a man when they obviously they can trust him, but when he trusts her to that level of being emotionally safe, there's a quote I remember hearing, I think it was in a movie I heard it something about, where a man, he craves a soft place to land. So having a woman that provides that energetically safe place to land, a soft place for him to land, is a gift beyond anything else that it's going to change his life.
It is the highest compliment I continue to receive from my male clients. And I am so honored and make such a point of continuing to keep that kind of integrity as a woman, because I am, and a coach, but I am always a woman.
Yes, indeed.
That they say, I've learned I can say anything to you, and I know I can trust that what you say back to me is the truth. And it's helped them cultivate better relationships with the women that they ultimately end up with, because they're not going to accept anything different, and they can ferret out women that would be capable of doing this, and they teach each other. It's been such an amazing journey. Still looking for my personal one. I'm grateful that I get so many clients like this. It's really lovely.
Same thing. I mean, I have so many female clients, and when I find my, same thing.
And they feel so safe with you all the time, I'm sure, because we're not judging. And I think that often men feel very judged. It's really difficult.
It's a challenge. And also because of that, oftentimes men tend to judge as well, because they're used to being judged. So sorry, ladies, but they look through the same lens at you. So they make a judgment about you. And so, the same as for you with your clients and with my clients is that non-judgmental space we carry, that safety for them to be receptive to them, is part of the work we deliver with them, so they feel they can expand and grow as they need to, and they're not going to be judged along the journey.
It's an equal opportunity reward and challenge.
Indeed.
So if we move on into relationships, are people really receptive to relationship? Because I've mentioned there's this huge pocket of women that say out loud, I don't want a relationship. I'm happy to do nothing in dating. I have family, friends, fine. And then there's some they like, I kind of miss companionship. I want somebody to go to dinner with. I want somebody to go to the movies with. Those are the high things they say. Then there's the next segment up where they'll do that. And then they're like, I'm okay going away for the weekend. I'm even having casual sex. But I want to keep my own house. And I don't really want us to have to answer to each other or check in with each other. We just see each other. And sometimes even regular, but it's like once every month, once every other month. It seems to work for them. And you need to believe when people say that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people are always allowed to change their minds. There's a thing about it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind. Right. And when they say it in the beginning, Maya Angelou said, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Mm-hmm. Boy, did I have a hard time learning that, but boy, it was a great thing to learn. So if people say that in the beginning, say, okay, am I okay enough with that now? Can I do that now? I might want more later, and they might not be the person, but could I do that now? Mm-hmm. And then to say when you need something different, if you need something more. Because if you really want a relationship where you're together and you're slogging through the hard things and you're celebrating the easy things and you're thinking about some sort of a future and you're not interested in being with other people, no matter how much or little you see each other, you are committed to each other. That's called a relationship. Then you need to keep talking about, are you still okay with this? Are you still okay with this? How are things going? Because people want to just rest on their laurels after that. And I think it helps people feel even more receptive when they're being asked.
Yeah.
I like doing this. Are you still happy doing this? Is there any changes you need? There's changes I need. I think that's the height of being receptive, is being open and honest about what's really going on.
There's so much in that. I mean, that's the thing is.
And I keep watching Making Your Head Hurt.
Well, you're speaking to a place I already stand and then go, oh. So, but one of the things I want to add to this, the journey of relationship, and actually I was on a conversation, a podcast last week. It was recently. I was talking this conversation about, and something I learned from my grad school. It was talking about how, a lot of people say the opposite of love is hate. The truth that I'm aware of in the conversation of relationship is the opposite of love is apathy. And it is the lack of will, lack of drive, lack of desire to be in a relationship that kills it. So,
because hating is still a whole bunch of emotion, right?
Yeah, and there's investment, because it's like, you can't get angry at things you don't care about. It's like, it doesn't work that way. And you get angry, it's not tied to something, it doesn't have any juice. Same is true with hate. So in relationships where there's the risk of it going into apathy because there's no desire, first of all, it doesn't usually happen overnight. Secondly, can you be aware enough along the road to notice it slipping into that space? Because relationships that move into that apathetic or I want to say best friends, but that sort of friendship level without the juice and the passion, it doesn't happen overnight. It does happen with something dramatic may happen in the relationship, a trauma or something that happens in that way. But oftentimes it's over a period of time, it's just the juice starts to fade away. So the question can be for both partners is, which one of you is going to be quick enough to notice it's changing and ask to see if your partner and you want to change direction, because it can be renewed. And we talked again about this in a previous broadcast about how chemistry can be renewed. It's not a one-time thing. But the challenge some people think about is, if the chemistry goes away, that's it, it's done, I'm over, there's nothing else to do. And so that receptivity, that joy, that connection of relationship is gone. But it doesn't have to be. And so the question I invite anybody who's in this process to think about is that when you're in a relationship, if the relationship is losing its spark for some reason, whatever it is, are you willing to reignite it?
Boy, that is such a good question. We could write that down too. Reignite chemistry. It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. The falling below the good enough line and staying there. I mean, Gottman has done podcasts and seminars and workshops about when you lose respect for somebody, and it will turn into apathy, and love can't survive. It just can't. So how do you stay receptive to the other person, to their foibles, to their quirks, to their changes? How can you stay receptive to your changes and your quirks and stuff? Yeah. Being receptive, and it's not an open vessel where anybody and everybody can come in. I mean, as you heard, we're doing lots of vetting along the way. I don't want anybody to think that you just jump to this. No, you're learning about yourself and learning about another person. And if you go through all these stages of the attention and the dating and the relationship, you really would know a lot about yourself and the other person if you've really gone through all those steps, right?
Yeah. And the one thing I want to add is, just as we close up, just say this piece too, is about being receptive. Is, well, we haven't said necessarily directly, but I want to make sure we get this point in here, is oftentimes it's about being receptive to our own indications, our own feedback, our own awarenesses, because a lot of times we're so busy checking on the other person, if we're really working on it, that we ignore our own gifts, our own intuition, our own wisdom, our own, like, oh crap, that doesn't line up sort of thing. We ignore it and suppress it to stay in the relationship past the point of health and wellness. Yeah. So that receptivity is listening to ourselves as well as the other person. So it's important. It's basically developing a new set of skills for some people. And the good news is that you and I can both help them with that.
And we certainly can. We're both very, very good at that.
Yes, indeed.
So if you'd like to talk to me about how to learn to be more receptive and listen to your intuition and be able to check out other people's receptivity, go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll down the page till you see what's holding you back from love, the questionnaire. Click on that. There's 10 brief questions that kind of figure out where are you now, where would you like to be? And then you have access to my calendar to make a complimentary conversation with me at your convenience. You can also join my mailing list. You'll get a repeat of this podcast and also updates on what I'm doing in my life. And if you scroll to the bottom of the homepage, you'll see all the icons for my social media, and you can join my Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Pinterest and Twitter and YouTube.
Nicely
and you
done.
can also send me an email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how do people get a hold of you, Mr. Barry?
Well, they can go to check out my wonderfully updated website, which is live now.
It's up and running.
Yeah, finally, it's been over a year. Wow. Basically, if you go to my website, which is barryselby.com, so you know where to find it. On the homepage, there's a bunch of things in the navigation. You can check out my book and programs and everything else. But on the homepage, at the top of the screen is an opportunity to get a discovery session with me. It says, let's chat. Click on that, and that will give you, also show you a little quote from one of my clients, but also you can sign up and have a discovery session with me. Fill out a form and it gets signed up on my calendar, and we can have a conversation. Halfway down the screen is where the quiz resides now, because the quiz is no longer it is a separate page, but you can get to it from the homepage too. See if you're ready for a relationship, do the quiz. So that's right, halfway down the page. And if you want to go directly to it from, even though you go to my site, you go to barryselby.com/quiz. That's a relationship readiness assessment. A bunch of questions will give you feedback and clarity of where you are and where you want to go. And they also invite you to have a discovery session with me. So it leads you in the same place. And at the bottom of the screen on the homepage is an opportunity to join my email list, as well as the links to my social media. And if you want to find me everywhere on social media, it's all my name, Barry Selby, on LinkedIn, on YouTube especially, and on Facebook and Twitter. And it's The Real Barry Selby on Instagram and on Threads. These are the platforms. You can also send me an email at barry@barryselby.com if you want to reach out to me directly. However, if you fill out the form to get a discovery session with myself or with Christine, that's where you're going to get most of the juice, because then you get a private conversation with us that will be helping you get to where you want to go and maybe see where you're stuck and what's in the way.
Very well said, Mr. Selby.
Thank you.
So we love being here. We're here every Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between. We'd love for you to watch and share and subscribe. Share it with people who aren't as far along in their dating and relationships that they'd like to be. You can watch us on Roku, and you can watch us on Apple TV. And how else can they listen to us, Barry?
Yes, because we're also now putting it on the podcast platforms, because you listen to us whenever you go driving or hiking or go to the shopping, wherever else you want to go. So you've got Apple Podcasts or Spotify, on Amazon, any of the podcast platforms you listen to, you'll find our show. So definitely listen to us, binge this. Have any questions? You've got so many episodes, you can search by title. So find what you're looking for and get some help.
We love being binged.
Yes.
You knew that was going to be a verb someday, right? That was a good verb.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
We love having you here, and please submit any questions or comments you have. If you have something you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear it.
And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye for now.
See ya.